than what is normal or what we know is normal. But I just wanted to start off with this being my first opportunity to speak publicly about the issues that our nation is facing with respect to social injustice, to racism, police brutality, all issues that are wrong. I've been on web conference calls with others around the league. I've had several personal discussions with our players, with members of our staff, all of which have been extremely educational for me. Those conversations have been real. They have been empowering. And our players especially have been outstanding. They were open. And they wanted assurance from the organization that when they do use their platforms, their voices, to speak for those whose voice may not be as loud or who don't have a voice, when they use their voices to speak out against these injustices, that they have our support, and they do. There shouldn't be a standard for how to live as a Black person in our country. You know, I had a great conversation with a staff member the other day who teared up in my office talking about how he hopes that this movement can create change, a sustained change, so that talk that he had to have with his parents as a young Black man, that he does not have to have that same talk of how to be leery and how to conduct himself as a Black man in our country. We got to be better. You know, I was thinking every single one of us, Black and white, we were taught the Pledge of Allegiance as kids. And that pledge was written by Francis Bellamy in 1892. And it's still recited today. And it's a pledge to a flag that represents our country. And a pledge is a solemn oath. It says one nation, not a Black nation or a white nation. It says one nation. It says indivisible, which means united, not able to be pulled apart, with liberty, which means a state of being free from oppressive restrictions, and justice, which is defined by the quality of being fair and reasonable for all, which is for everyone, regardless of the color of your skin. So I just think this pledge, this oath that we've all recited, if we can truly put that into action, we can work to change. We can work to change the hearts and minds of those that need to be changed, that liberty, that justice, that feeling of one nation, a nation of human beings, a nation of God's children. I think that's our charge. It's been extremely moving couple weeks, and I want to be a part. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Jim Wyatt.
John, appreciate your time. I just want to ask you about Derek. This is the first time we've talked to you since maybe the last time, since maybe you had the tag put on. Where has that gone with conversations, and you're still looking at it from a positive outlook?
Yeah, you know, we've had a phone call last week, had a phone call the week before that. You know, just kind of continuing to work through things. I think the conversations have been positive with between me and the reps there, and again, just trying to find some common ground. You know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, that Derek's an important part of what we do, and just trying to find the spot where we all need to be, where we all want to be.
And one more just about the challenges, and Mike touched on them, but everything from the inability to have team meetings to lockers need to be spread 6 feet apart, how you handle things in the building. What has the process been like as you look ahead to camp, and how do you think that will be managed?
Yeah, you know, we've got the list of protocols, the initial list that the league sent out the other day. We've been trying to unpack that. and think and brainstorm of how we're going to get training camp accomplished as normal as possible, knowing that there's going to be hurdles along the way. We're looking at various spaces so that we can maintain the distance required, that our players are safe. And we've got a really good staff, a bunch of guys and gals that are willing to pitch in and help to make sure that we come out ready for the season, but we're safe and healthy as well.
Teron?
Yeah, J-Rob, as far as the conversation about the possible shortening of the preseason, how much could that impact what you have to do as a talent evaluator? Because you look at a guy like Adam Humphries, he may not have made a roster if it wasn't for having a full preseason.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, TD, and I don't know what's going to become of shortening. Are we going to play 4? Are we going to play 2? Are we going to play 3? We're kind of waiting on the league to kind of make a determination on that. But those preseason games, they're extremely important for those guys that that are on the roster bubble or that are kind of clamoring for spots. Maybe they're on the outside looking in for their team. But also the these rookie free agents and evaluating those guys. It will have to be extremely creative. Maybe go back and watch some of their college film to see, is there anything that we see in ever how many preseason games they play in that they might be a help for our football team.
Teresa?
John, and toward that, would it help to have a longer training camp, considering that the players hadn't been around this offseason? Is that something that that you advocate for with the NFL as they try to figure out what's next?
Yeah, I think that's between the league and the players union of the length of training camp. I know those last couple of weeks it gets long, and that's where those joint practices really help, because you got the time leading up to your first preseason game. If you can get some work in against another team, which we can't do now. But those are always good because, A, it gives us a chance to evaluate another team, but it gives our guys, they get to go against a different guy and kind of see how they measure up that way. So, the length of training camp and how long we got to go through different stages of that, we're really just kind of waiting to get, kind of a firm answer on where that's going to be.
David Beauclair?
John, what have you particularly or personally been able to do in terms of evaluating the guys you do have? I mean, do you pop into these meetings? Do you review the quizzes with the coaches? How are you getting a sense of who's doing what?
Well, I really rely on Mike to kind of convey that to me. I never want to be like, in school, I can remember when the principal would pop in the back of the classroom and the teacher was nervous and the kids were nervous. So I want these meetings have been outstanding. I've talked to some of the assistant coaches as well. It's been really going good, and that's the most important thing, is that we're ready to go come training camp time.
Paul Kaharski?
John, appreciate it. Picking up on a little bit of what some of these other questions have been. I know you always kind of go into this period before training camp, kind of acknowledging some of the things you don't know about your team. I imagine now you know even less than usual. What's the list like of things you don't know, having not seen guys on the grass? And is that somewhat daunting, or does it make you nervous in any way, shape, or form, or is it comforting just to know your colleagues are in the same spot, I guess?
Yeah, I think that I'm glad that the nucleus of our team is back. We've got a really good locker room. We've got a bunch of great guys. It sounds like the rookies have really kind of taken off from a learning standpoint, but you're right. To see them on the grass and really evaluate how quickly they're acclimating to the pro game. Every team is kind of dealing with the same set of cards on that one. So. But I feel good about the core of our football team, about the guys. And, we had a team meeting right before jumping on these calls. And it was good to hear the veterans speak up in that meeting and relay to the rookies, hey, reach out to me. I'm here to help you. You can't take these couple weeks off before we get back for training camp, and that you got to be ready to go. We're all counting on you. So I think the leadership within the team is really good.
you think the backup quarterback market may churn, or are you feeling like Logan winds up being your guy?
We'll see. That's probably that's one of the positions I was looking forward to watching. He's done a lot of really good things. In some exchanges with a couple of his teammates, he's done a great job this offseason of getting guys together and slinging around. He had a good preseason last year, and we got to see what he's got and see what Cole's got. Once these guys get in here, we can work with them.
Gentry.
Yeah, hey John. I wanted to ask about Derek as well, and just what his approach has been like the last couple of months. Has it been same as always in terms of his commitment with this going on contractually? And for you, how much of a sense of urgency is there to want to get something done, given that you obviously have the tag?
Yeah, I think that Derek's approach to how he prepares, he's been that way since he was at Bama and probably high school. Like he's a tireless worker. He's been engaged in the meetings, and he wants to get something done. We want to get something done, and we're working towards that. And it's, again, like I stated earlier, it's about coming to that common ground spot, as it is in every negotiation. So we're anxious to keep the conversations going and keep talking through things.
Mike Giardi.
Yeah, John, appreciate you doing this. You were very emotional with your opening remarks, and I'm just curious, in talking to your players, do you get the sense that what they're seeing here over the last couple of weeks and the support they're getting from a variety of communities signals to them that maybe this change is finally happening?
I think that we're all hopeful, and I think our players are especially hopeful. And some of the conversations were personal, but on kind of in a global look at things. There's communities in Nashville where there's people there that their voices isn't nearly as strong and can't be heard like our players or our staff members or our team or anybody in the NFL. And I kind of close there with it, but we're all God's children. We're all human beings, and we should all have those rights and be treated as such. So I'm glad that our players know that they have the assurance of the team to be that voice and help those who may struggle to kind of help themselves.
Yeah, John, if I could just follow up quickly, do you feel like this time has brought your team closer together? Because obviously, the Saints being a prime example of maybe things can go sideways in this period. Do you feel like the conversations you've had have allowed your team to grow closer?
I think we've got a pretty tight team, Mike. I think that when you're 2-4 and you're not starting off too well, and you make a change at quarterback, and Vrabel did an outstanding job of in that team meeting about looking to the guy to your left and the man to your right, and we're playing for each other and hold each other accountable. We came together as a football team, and it's a really strong locker room full of a bunch of great guys.
Thanks, John.
Terry.
John, somebody's got to ask the obligatory Jadeveon Clowney question.
Here we go, Terry. Come with it.
Is that door still potentially open regarding him? And if so, have there been any recent conversations with his representation?
No, no conversations of recent. I think we're going to continue to monitor it, and see where, I've seen what you guys have seen that's been posted on social media. I know he wants to play. I think we would be a pretty good fit for him, and there was some mutual interest there when we started the discussions. But I would say that really hasn't grown any legs since we spoke last.
Kayla. Corey.
Hey, John.
Hey, Corey.
Well said off the top. We appreciate everything you've had to say today. I'm going to expand a little on Terry's question. You cleared up a considerable amount of cap space when you traded away Jarrell Casey, and that cap space remains for your football team. How do you explain that move if you enter the season without having spent it?
Well, I mean, I think when you talk about cap space, that's whatever numbers is out there on these websites that track it. You like it's like your own personal budget. You know, you have to budget for things, and you have to budget for injured players. You have to budget for this or that, and being mindful of potential extensions that might come up. You know, over the next couple weeks, couple months. And then whatever you don't use, you can carry over depending upon what the crop of free agents is going to look like next year, or guys you're going to have to re-sign on your own football team. So those are all pretty complex questions and discussions that we have internally about how to use that. Just because you have it doesn't mean necessarily you have to burn it. But we certainly think if it makes sense for our football team collectively, once we get our heads together, then we'll spend it.
And you talked about having the players having the support of the team. We also heard players yesterday saying that whatever this team does, that they will likely do it together. Is that what you would like to see? That if they do want to make a statement, that they do it together as a united front?
Well, I think that's an attribute to Mike's question about our team and the togetherness of our team. Bunch of guys that love each other in that locker room, that work hard for each other, that are accountable, and I appreciate those statements. And again, they have our full support.
John Glennon.
Hey, John, thanks for your time.
Hey, John.
Just in terms of another free agent question, I know there's still some uncertainty probably at the kicking position. Any conversations maybe with Ryan Suckup, and if so, kind of how is his health and would you consider potentially making him an offer?
Haven't talked to Ryan or his reps. Had a great meeting with him when we decided to release him there, and just told him to get healthy. And certainly we were not closing the door on maybe potentially looking at him again. But Greg did a great job for us down the stretch, and looking forward to getting him back in here and letting him bang away and put a foot on the ball. And but I mean, really every position we're continuing to monitor and look at ways that we can put a team out there to hopefully win 2 more games than we did last year.
Thanks.
Luke.
Hey, John, I was wondering your thoughts on the players that you currently have set up to compete at receiver behind the top 3 guys being Corey, Adam, and AJ. What do you like, and what do you see there in that group?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got some guys that have made some plays for us in the past. Khalif Raymond made some big catches for us. One in Baltimore, one in Indy to stick out in my mind right off the top. Cam Batson's done some good things. He missed last year because of an injury. Rashard Davis kind of punched in there as a punt returner, made a big 3rd down catch in a game for us. So, all those guys, and seeing what these rookies, there's some of these undrafted rookie guys that we spend a lot of time evaluating and meeting with and talking to. They've been really engaged in the meetings, but at that position, you never know where they're going to come from. It's kind of unique. You got Adam Humphries, who was an undrafted guy. They come from all areas of the draft or the post draft. So excited about the competition of that group, and seeing if some of those guys, where it's Khalif or Cam taking that next step.
Last year, Tajay played a lot of snaps even before Adam went down with his injury. If the guys that you were just talking about have to be put in a position like that, are you comfortable? Is that something you have to wait and see and then evaluate after the fact?
Well, I think all those guys, if they know what to do, I think they've proven when the ball's thrown their way, they can come up with a play. We'll certainly have to see kind of where they're at when we get back to training camp. But really like the way all those guys have approached their job and performed when their number was called upon.
Buck.
John, hope you were safe and family's doing well.
Good, Buck, thanks.
Sorry to bounce between social issues and football, but your opening statement was very well delivered. And I guess if I could ask you a personal question, what were the emotions that you experienced when you watched the video of George Floyd?
I think that a friend of mine, country star here in Nashville, Jimmy Allen, said it best on the Today Show yesterday or day before, about envisioning the face of it being one of your children or one of your loved ones, and the pain and the anger that caused you. And I think that hit home with me. That's you just don't want that. That shouldn't happen to anybody. That shouldn't happen to anybody.
Thanks.
Steve Lehman.
Hey, John, hope you're doing well. You guys made the decision to not pick up the fifth-year option on Corey Davis. I'm just curious how the conversation went with him after that, sort of where his headspace is right now and what your expectation is for him this season.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's real conversations. I try to have as transparent a conversation as possible with all our players, and talked about the monetary commitment that is, and hopefully he goes out and has a good year for us, and we can figure something out. But I'm charged to make those hard decisions, to manage salaries of a roster, and make sure it all fits, and plan certainly for this year, but for future years as well. And a lot of those decisions aren't easy, but that's what I'm charged to do. And at the end of the day, I have to do what I think is best for the football team. That I love him personally, that I love the way he's grown as a person, as a player, and want to go out and have a good year.
We haven't had the chance to talk to him yet. Would you say, did he take I'm sure he was disappointed, but did he take it well? And do you feel like you've got a motivated guy coming back for the fall?
Extremely professional, extremely grateful for the opportunity that he has here and has had here, and just excited to get back to work with his teammates.
A couple more. Terry?
John, I know that obviously the business end of dealing with players, and especially players who've been here a long time, is not always pleasant on your end. But do you have any reaction at all to the comments that Jarrell put out there earlier this week about how he kind of felt disrespected by the organization regarding the trade?
No, I mean, I talked about, released a statement about Jarrell. Jarrell has been, he's drafted here, been a Pro Bowler here, been a leader here, and he's an outstanding person. He's a heck of a football player, and the decisions that we make here, they're never personal. They just aren't. They have to be what's in the best interest of the football team, and that was one of those hard decisions that I had to make. That wasn't an easy one, but it's one that I felt and we felt was best for our football team.
Last one, Jim.
John, I guess I'm going to ask you Isaiah Wilson question, right tackle. You talked about some of the challenges for the undrafted rookies, but what kind of challenge does he face to try to earn a spot, starting spot out of the gate? And does it make you even sleep better at night knowing you got Dennis Kelly signed and a guy who you can count on right out of the gate if Wilson's not able to wrestle it away from him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like the depth of our football team. We're constantly, and we're charged to try to improve on that depth. But and talking to Isaiah and all the work that we did on Isaiah, talking to the staff there at Georgia and those that were around him, and we got to know him. I know he's going to compete. I know he's going to work hard to come in here and be a productive member of our football team. And you want that competition. You want that back and forth.
I am zoomed out.
Mike said he's zoomed out. You want that competition back and forth with all the positions. And I'm excited to get the big man here and watch him work.
I'm stick on the offensive line for one more. Just we talked to Taylor on a conference call earlier this offseason, talked about leadership, wanting to do more. How encouraging was it to hear that, and hope he follows through with that? And did you even see some of that last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor's really matured since I've been here. He and I have obviously had several great conversations. But he's this team's important to him. He loves his teammates. He's got a really good room, and I'm excited to see him take on those leadership, because we all know he's a vocal guy. He's a really good football player, and I think that he can impact some of our younger players as that leader, because of his skill set and the way he can convey a message.
All right, that's a wrap for us. Appreciate your
Guys,
time.
thank you guys so much for everything you do for our football team, for covering our football team. Stay safe out there this summer with this COVID thing, and I challenge all of us, and when I say us, I mean me included, to really try to make a positive impact on our nation and work to heal a lot of hurt that's going on right now. Thank you guys. Tighten
Thanks
up.
a lot, John.
Thanks, John.
John, appreciate
Best
it.
wishes to your family.